So it's pretty much locked in that Scarlet Witch is better than Jean now for ABX for all of the female villain days. And that's a pretty big deal because she's a lot cheaper. It basically comes down to cost, and especially when you can use 2 different uniforms for Scarlet Witch to double dip, whereas you can't do that for Jean. Famously, you sort of could do that for Jean years ago, back in 2019 with her Blast uniform, but that's not the case anymore. Scarlet Witch is kind of the new Jean Grey, and you can see this rotation is like super duper easy. I'm not even necessarily doing it as effectively as possible, but it's super easy. It's basically pretty proc friendly as well. If you not that you should use a proc for ABX ABL content, but it's very, very easy, and you're basically just spamming everything, and then your main rotation is 3-4-5 or 2-1-3-4-5, right? And yeah, you get absolutely massive scores. I'm not going to show you the whole ABX ABL thing. She cancels really easily as well. I can show you screenshots here where I scored almost 1 million better on my very first try during the live stream, comparing Jean to Scarlet Witch. So for with 1 million already on the first try, it's basically a no-brainer. If you take a look at my build here really quickly, we've got a full Odin's Blessing Uru situation with none of them awakened. We have no elite gear yet. This is the stats here for PvE. These are the PvP stats, but I don't use her in PvP. These are the PvE stats. Everything is essentially capped. And then we've got type 5 enhancement. We've got the 6-star artifact, which is pretty nice, but it doesn't make that much of a difference to her performance. So don't worry if you have a 4-star or something like that. It's not a huge difference. And then we have a Mighty Rage with a 200 proc. And this is the really nice thing about Scarlet Witch. We've seen a few, not all, but a few of the ABX ABL characters really become a lot better with competition. And that has put a lot of pressure on players to get competition CTPs. And of course, that costs money because they're so difficult to obtain. Not the case, not so for Scarlet Witch. I'm happy to report that she actually performs really well with a Rage, mainly due to the fact that she has that 25% guaranteed crit rate. And so because of that, you don't have to feel pressured to change her build. But what about World Boss Legend? How does the new uniform stack up to the old one? Well, thankfully, Thanos stage 20 through 24 allows us to test this because it's a female stage. Now, if it's going to be a hero stage, if it's going to be a villain stage, that's going to ruin, obviously, any chance of testing because you can only test one of the uniforms. But we're going to go ahead and test this one here. We're not going to do a full run. We're just going to run through about a minute. I think I can actually charge the tier 4 faster by putting 1 in between there before the 5, but that's okay. We'll give the old uniform the quote-unquote benefit of the doubt. Oh, I'm already in the next phase. Okay, that's great. Wow, this is actually very fast. Also, for the old uniform, we are giving it the benefit of the doubt in that we're using worse support. Instead of using Weapon Hex support, we are using Mystique, just to keep things quote-unquote fair, I would say. It's not actually, it gets fair to the old uniform. It's actually advantageous to the old uniform. My tier 3 accidentally triggered a proc, which I didn't really want it to do, but that's okay. But it is, oh, we passed it. Okay, so we'll just go here. So it takes us about, we'll do there. So 21 bars in 1 minute and 10 seconds. The timer kind of ran over the 1 minute mark that I was going for because I was in the middle of the Black Order attacking. I got a little bit distracted by that, but yeah, we got down to almost 21.5 bars. To be fair, the old uniform plays almost the same way. I just find that you just have to do 5-4 instead of 4-5, and I just find that it's a little bit clunkier as far as the zipping around and the camera movements, and not everybody enjoys that, so I can see why some people would prefer this new uniform. Now I'm certainly trying to press the co-op skill. It wasn't going there, but okay, no, we should have pushed him to the next into the next phase. Okay, we did a little bit less damage there, but there we go, we got to the next phase. You can always interrupt him. Just a fun fact for the Thanos World Boss Legend, you can always interrupt him if you do enough damage to push him down to about 42 bars, as you saw there, to stop him from summoning the Order. So something to note there. But yeah, I do think it's pretty obvious that this uniform is a little bit slower damage-wise, has a little bit worse burst damage. Again, the tier 3 is popping during the animation, but I'm 10 bars behind right now. I do have one more rotation to get through, so we're definitely going to count this rotation, and we're definitely going to count this co-op skill. But even with that generous addition, we're still, I would say we're still we're still like 4 or 5 bars behind. We're almost 2 rotations behind in damage, and that's another 11 seconds. So another 1 to 2 rotations, another like 11 seconds, and she catches up in terms of the damage. So yeah, I think it's a pretty clear-cut winner here with the new uniform over the old uniform. Obviously, it's not available for all of the same content, villain versus hero, but that is something that you have to weigh as if it's valuable to you or not. Not everyone pushes World Boss Legend. If you're just a Stage 9 enjoyer, as I know a lot of people are, then it really doesn't matter. The fastest one, the tankiest one, the easiest one is going to be the one that people are going to gravitate towards. Funny enough, the stages that old Scarlet Witch and new Scarlet Witch, hero versus villain, are available for in World Boss Legend are essentially the same. She is available for one more set of stages on Thanos, but then Black Dwarf and Ebony Maw are exactly the same at 4 stages apiece. Corvus and Proxima is 2 stages versus 2 stages. Black Swan is 2 stages versus, I believe, 3 stages. And then it varies with a slight edge, I would say, to the older uniform, the older Scarlet Witch uniform, which is worse, but it is what it is. For the first 5 bosses, the non-legend pluses from Kang to Null. Slight edge goes to this one in terms of availability. This is the number of stages that you can use her on. But since this uniform is so much better, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. Now, if it was a huge gap between the two, that would be a different story. If they had changed, for example, her allies from other to something else, if they had changed her like to human or something, I'm not saying that she'll do that. I'm just saying that if that had been the case, then she would explode in value for the number of stages she was available for. But basically, you're not going to see a big shift whether they're turning her, into a villain or a hero here for World Boss Legend requirements and stage restrictions because of 2 things. One, most of her tags are just not available for World Boss Legend. Zombie tag and Chaos Magic just don't appear. The only one that appears is the fast movement. And then the other reason is because of her allies being other. Because she's not a human or an alien or a mutant, like the popular ones, right? The other, the creature, and the inhuman basically just get rejected and forgotten. And so that's why it doesn't really matter. The other big W with this uniform over the old Scarlet Witch uniform is that it's just better in a game mode that she was already dominating and meta for, ABL. And so you get the basically additional value here for free. And so, I mean, you already have a bunch of reasons to get this uniform over the old one. This is kind of a no-brainer, but if you needed any more convincing, you easily get higher scores in a game mode that she was already #1 for. Now, you have to be a little bit careful here with the fracture because it happens at the very end of the skill. It happens near the beginning, so you got to be a little bit careful not to start the rotation too early. Otherwise, you're going to miss the fracture because it's not at the entirety of the skill. But yeah, otherwise, super easy playstyle as always. Yeah, just so good, man. Zip over here, get this. I also think that her rotation ends a little bit sooner, which means you have a bit more flexibility for repositioning in between. It's a bit of a technical thing, but it actually matters quite a bit when you're grabbing the energy in between, when you don't have like a perfect run where it always drops on you. There, I don't know what happened. I was trying to press 7 before I did 4-5, and it just didn't want to do anything. Another thing I'm just noticing now, I'm not trying to glaze this uniform. I'm being serious with my review here. I know I'm smiling and stuff. Her first skill moves her. You can see that her first skill like zips her around sometimes, and I zip from being on one side of Surtur to the other. You see that? I'm behind him now. This is a really big deal for repositioning to avoid meteors and to avoid other attacks that would lower your score. Because you can see I just lost a little bit of score. Surtur has a few attacks that will do that. And so just going to be careful here to start 5, not too early. So having that attack, see that? I can just reposition behind him is actually pretty valuable. It doesn't seem valuable, but trust me, it is. Now, it doesn't always work. I have to still figure out what the parameters are, because sometimes I press it and it doesn't work. It doesn't reposition behind him. but it's very nice. And a lot of the top ABL scorers have that repositioning tech available to them so that they can avoid those certain damagings, or so that they can position the end of the fight to be against a wall, so that when Surtur inevitably dashes, he dashes into nothing like that. And then he can stay in the AoE of your existing attacks, and you can rack up a much higher score much faster. So this one isn't actually going to be that much better. I think some people are going to question my use of Scarlet Witch Striker, or sorry, Black Widow Striker. I was just using it from the previous testing. But yeah, an easy 15 million for me, where I'm usually scoring about 14 million or 14 and change, means that it's almost a 1 million upgrade for me, which is really, really nice, considering it's just as easy to play, if not easier to play, and it doesn't have that camera shaking. So yeah, this is by far the best upgrade, in my opinion, of this update. This bump for Scarlet Witch from hero to villain. Aesthetically, I think it's way cooler, although I do miss the Zodiac Lion. And yeah, the damage is undeniable, and the value is undeniable for all of the content that I was going to use her in anyways. And although she doesn't have any PvP value, I mean, who knows? Maybe maybe with the Berserk ability and a PvP build, she can actually do some funny memes in some like other world battle content when everyone is banned. But you have to wait for kind of the perfect storm for that to be the case. But it's available to her, which is nice, right? You could always try her for fun on a zombies PvP team. Anyways, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching the video. Smash the like button if you enjoy the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.